Okay, here we have a short little companion video to go along with the Kuta software worksheet that I gave you guys for March 25th and 26th. So a couple of examples on here, just kind of different wording on how we go through and solve these problems, or how we pick up kind of where they left off. So if we take a look at this, the first one, they've already given us a factor. Okay, just to be clear, if something is a factor, then that means it divides into it evenly. So when you perform division, you better get a remainder of 0. If you don't get a remainder of 0, then it's not a factor. But you're being told that it is. So when you go through and perform the division on here, you need to make sure that what you got was a remainder of 0. So what we want to do is we want to try to take this polynomial f of x and break it down. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and do some division on this. So just like I showed in the video that goes with this, I'm going to take what I'm dividing by, or what the factor is. I'm going to put it down the left-hand side. And go ahead and set up for my division problem. And then kind of just following along with what I did previously in the other video. So make sure you watch the other one first. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to take a look at the biggest term that I have, which is that 2x cubed. That is the only one that automatically makes its way into the box. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 2x cubed here. Now my job is to find the value up here so that when I multiply, I get 2x cubed. Okay, so this is going to have to be a 2x squared. All right, now moving down, I want to fill in this bottom box here by multiplying. So that's going to give me a 4x squared. All right, I'm done there. Now, find the x squared term up here. We want a negative 3x squared. So that when I add the two yellow boxes inside my generic rectangle that I'm building, I get negative 3x squared. Well, in order for that to happen, this is going to have to be a negative 7x squared. Okay, now let's go ahead and bring that term up on top. So we're going to perform our division. So it's going to have to be a negative 7x for this to work. Okay, continue multiplying. That's going to give me a negative 14x when I multiply. Okay, I'm going to grab a different color of my highlighter here. Now I've got my x term. So go up, find your x term in the polynomial you're trying to divide, and know that the two green boxes inside the generic rectangle are going to have to get you the negative 11x when you add them together. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if this is a positive 3x. And then go ahead and perform your division. So let's figure out what goes up there. So that's going to have to be a 3, positive 3. Go ahead and fill in the bottom right-hand box, or the bottom box. And then let's take a look at that. Hopefully these match, and they do, which is good, because I should not have any remainder at all, because this is a factor. All right, so let's see what we have remaining here from this division. So we've now got our 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. Now, I'm supposed to find all of the factors, which means I now have to factor this. Okay, so let's go back to integrate it too. We know that we have a quadratic in descending order, and I do need to factor this. So you guys, I'm assuming, would probably set up the generic rectangle for this guy. And then however you choose to situate it, it's up to you. So when I taught this, we would always put the x squared in the bottom right-hand corner and the constant in the top right-hand corner. Remember that this is just a tool to help you. Okay, going back, we know that the product of these two that are inside the boxes, it's going to go on the very top of our diamond here, and then we go back to the problem itself. So go back to the question, and I look at this middle term. That guy is going to go in the bottom of the diamond. Okay, so now using my tools here, I know this is a multiplication and this is an addition. If I want to get a negative, I want to get a negative 7x when I add and a 6x squared when I multiply. I think the only way this is going to work is if it's a negative 6x and a negative 1x. Okay, go ahead and put those guys into the two empty boxes. It doesn't matter which one goes where, just two empty boxes. And then go ahead and factor out. So it looks like this is going to have to be a 2x, which means that's an x. In order for the bottom right box to work, that needs to be a negative 1. and then this will need to be a -3. Do a quick multiplication on the outside and make sure that these actually work. So what I have here now is I have my other factors. So I've got this factor of 2x minus 1 and this factor of x minus 3. Neither of those can be further factored, so I can answer the question. So all of the factors of this would be the factor that was given to me, which was x plus 2. And then the two other factors that I found, which is x minus 3 and 2x minus 1. Those are your factors. But it did say that you also had to find your zeros. So once we know what the factors are, we should be able to find the zeros, no problem. So we would set each one of those equal to 0 and then solve for x. So for the first one, it would be x equals -2. The second one would be x equals +3. And then the third one would be x is equal to +half. So I've got my factors, but I also have my zeros. Okay, let's move on to another sample question, kind of like halfway down the page on this worksheet. Kind of the same idea, except for you're given a 0 this time, which means if we go over here to where the 0 is identified, we know that this is technically x equals. So I want to rewrite it as a factor so I can then do the division part. And then I'm kind of back to where I started. So if I take my x is equal to 2/3, all right, back in the video, I don't want fractions, so I am going to go ahead and multiply by 3. So it's going to give me 3x is equal to 2, and then subtract the 2 over. Okay, this is a factor now. So now we're going to take that 3x minus 2, and we're now at the exact same stage that we were at on the previous question. So now would be a great time to pause. I'm going to go through and we'll work this out and see if we can get the same thing. If you need reference points for this, you can go back to the previous video that I did, or you can go to just the previous screen on this, because the process is the exact same thing. Okay, so I went through and I did my long division, got a remainder of 0, thank goodness. If I didn't, and I was told that this was either a factor or a 0, then I made a mistake somewhere. And you'd have to kind of back your way up through it and see if you can find it. Okay, so now I have my quadratic of 10x squared minus 23x minus 5. Now I'm back in integrated 2 again. So if you need to draw the boxes, go ahead and draw the boxes. We do want to figure out what this factors into. So again, now's a great time to pause and then catch up and see if we have the same values or the same answers. Okay, so I went through and I did my division. Now at this point I have the 5x plus 1 on the outside, and I have the 2x minus 5 on the outside as well. So if I wanted to rewrite my factors, then it's the factor I started with in the first place, which was the green guy, so 3x minus 2. And then the other factors that I just got being 5x plus 1, and then the one down the side was 2x minus 5. So those are my factors. Then if I want to write my zeros, I'm going to set each one of those equal to 0 and solve for x. So for the first one, I'd plus the 2 over and then divide by 3. So x is equal to 2/3, which is what I expected because that was what was given to me in the first place. Okay, for the 5x plus 1, it set that equal to 0, minus the 1 to the other side, and then divide by 5. And then the third one, set it equal to 0, add the 5 to the other side, and divide by 2. Hopefully this helps with that worksheet.